Spoken word poetry, raw, unfiltered, and delivered straight to you. Welcome to Digital Poetry Festival, a podcast for poets and poetry lovers to get their daily fill of poetry. Hosted by Ashley Alazor of the band Odinani.
Welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt Thiessen.
With me today is Debbie G of Spirituality Gone Wild.
This is your daily dose of happy. We are so happy you decided to join us today. Now, I should say from the outset, we have decided that we are going to have more fun today than 3 adults should be allowed to have. So
okay.
just kind of setting the ground rules here, making sure we're on board on all this.
All right.
And, and of course, I mean, Debbie G is like, she's just fun all by herself, but we just kind of doubled it because we brought in our good friend Josie Herndon, who was on the show in December. So Josie, thanks for joining us again today.
Well, thank you, Walt, for inviting me. And I look forward to having as much fun as I'm going to have today. It's going to set the tone for my day, actually. This
Okay.
month, right?
Okay. Well, that's good.
To have fun.
Yeah.
Continue to have fun all day.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to set the tone. It's going to set the tone for your whole weekend, Josie, because it's her birthday weekend.
Yay! Happy birthday!
Thank you. So yes, we're going to have fun.
I'm really excited about that.
We were talking before the show how you are one day apart from sharing it with David Strickle because he's also got a birthday going on.
Well,
So
his
this is
birthday's today and mine's tomorrow, and we're
Yeah.
born the same year, and we have a lot of things in common. Yes, we do pretty much. We came in together, that's for sure.
Yeah, we were talking just before we started here that you and he apparently both made connections to sources at the same time.
Yeah.
And my comment was it was like stereo because you said you were finishing each other's sentences and so
Yeah,
forth.
we would start something, and then my channel would Gabriel would finish, and then stream would come through, and it was like, yeah. We were completely in alignment. That was fun.
That's
so
cool.
awesome.
Yes.
It's seriously cool. I mean, really, when you put it is dynamic. But with Josie is one of these diverse people that you don't meet very often. And I got to tell you, she's a CEO of a recovery of her own treatment center, which is spectacular. Advanced Therapeutic Services, which my son has been a patient at, and remarkable what's happening in his life today. And the unique part of what Josie does is she channels Archangel Gabriel. And she has a show that's going to be airing, her brand new season's coming, Drama to Dharma, and it's airing on March 6th.
Nice.
I cannot wait. And she's going to be a special guest at our very first new season of Women Rising on Unify on March 5th.
Ooh.
So, yeah,
Yeah, we are
super
just
awesome stuff.
roll everything out in March again. Yes. Start the season.
She's the CEO that channels. You all got that right?
That's a channeling executive officer, I believe.
That's right. I love that. That's what CEO stands for. That's
what it is.
Yeah, I love that. Channeling executive officer. Who wants to be a chief executive officer? That's great. I love it. I'm going to use that. That's great.
Yeah.
I've never even thought about that, but yes.
And you could really spook clients out too. I mean, for the ones that you want to spook out, because they get shown into the office and they get a channeling session. They think they're meeting with the president of the company. Like, whoa, what's going on here?
Well, what's interesting is that I channel quite a bit. I can just channel and speak as Josie. And so I'll ask Gabriel to come through me. He'll say beautiful words through me, so people don't even know I'm channeling. They can feel something different, but I don't go into a straight channel just to give his messages. And I do that a lot with the clients. So you're right. They come into my office. We're going to talk about something, and then we get right to the point. We get right to the heart, to the soul of what it is that's going on with them, and they don't even know what happened. We're supposed to be talking about some financial thing or whatever, and that's not what happens. So it is. Really cool.
See, I thought I was making a funny here. You actually do this. I mean,
I do.
Seriously.
I'm a chief executive officer. I own the treatment center. Yeah, I'm the president of the. So I do, and I also do the financials. I do all of it. Get our Medi-Cal contracts, insurance contracts. So we have right now we have about 50 clients in treatment. So
wow.
Yeah, it's a real thing, but I've got a wonderful clinical team. I mean, I just tell them I'm in charge of making sure that, there's toilet paper and snacks and, keep the lights on. That's my job. And they do all the wonderful work with the clients. So I try to stay out of it so they can do their work. But
how many on the team?
We have about 15. We have
okay.
15 therapists and doctors. We have a doctor, a PA, a psychologist, PhD psychologist, a couple of MFTs, and the rest, KDAC counselors that come in. No, we have two psychologists. And then, so we've got a wonderful team because we do mental health and substance abuse. So
okay.
We have our mental health clients for adults and adolescents. Yeah. And we've got an excellent clinical team.
So it's a fairly broad offering then.
It is. Yeah, we do. We have to, because there's not just, we'll have somebody admit for mental health thinking it's mental health. And by the middle of, 2 weeks or whatever, they're an alcoholic. So
yes.
Then they can go to, or vice versa. We'll have somebody come in for alcoholism and, it's really primary mental health. So there's a lot of that kind of stuff. Yeah.
My wife used to be, an MFT and
okay. Yes,
she's told me numerous stories. I mean, not about specific clients, obviously, but about general kinds of stories.
Yes.
And one of her favorite kinds to tell is where, she meets with a client who, claims that he is a former alcoholic.
Right.
And she says, how long has it been? And he says, I've been sober for quite a while for now. And what was the last time you had a drink? Yesterday morning.
Exactly. That's what we're talking about. That's exactly right. The denial is so, and the shame behind it still for a lot of clients, that just getting them in to address their anxiety and depression, if that's what's going to take to get them in, because everybody that's an alcoholic has anxiety and depression.
Sure.
I mean, that just comes with it. So then they, kind of hold on to it a little bit and hold on, and then it finally pops through. And then we're able to help the complete person. So that's really good. Yeah.
And that's important, I think. I mean, I've been privileged to interview here on the program a number of people like yourself who, they provide the traditional, therapeutic type services, 12, all that kind of stuff, but they tie in, like, to use your term, the holistic approach, or like a good friend of mine, Joel Elston, he would actually literally tie law of attraction into his therapeutic services.
That's right.
Things like that.
Yes.
And I love that.
Yes, we do. We're required by state and CARF and all our, accreditations and licensures to have evidence-based treatment. Everybody says evidence-based treatment. So we have evidence-based treatment through Hazelton's Living in Balance and so forth. But then we also have groups that we do conscious recovery that TJ does at Woodward, and he put a curriculum together of consciousness and recovery, and that's amazing. And so he's doing his outcome studies so that it could be considered evidence-based. So we're one of the facilities. Has to start somewhere. So we're able to tie it all in. It basically, every individual, they come in and they are a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them are kind of far from spirit at that time, right?
Sure.
So they don't want to hear religion. They could even have religion as a trauma for them. So we don't talk about that. But at the facility, we do have a lot of, angels hanging and, whatever. Buddha.
You have subtle cues going on here is what you got.
And it feels really good to them. I kind of have it like grandma's house, where it's just really nice feeling, and leather seats and things like that. And then it just, we do a couple spiritual groups a week where it's meditation, mindfulness and meditation. And that is evidence-based mindfulness. So
sure.
We do mindfulness, right? And DBT and those things. So, it all gets tied in. And it helps them. I'm sure it does, because we have a big alumni, and a lot of our referrals come from word of mouth from other clients. And that speaks a lot.
It does. Yeah.
To our treatment center. Yeah.
Yeah. When your business is driven by referrals, you're on the right track. That you're producing successful results.
Yes. Thank you. That's where we get all of ours, from word of mouth or from the community.
Yeah.
So that's really, and the exciting thing is we just started Medi-Cal, which is we take insurance, private pay. It's a beautiful facility. But for 5 years, I worked on the Medi-Cal contract, which for other states would be Medicaid. And it goes through the county. I wanted to help the entire community because we're community based. So now we're tying that population in with the rest of our population, and they are doing very well. So
That's
grateful
fabulous.
that they get everything. I don't separate them into a different group. They get everything everybody else gets. Now we do get paid mostly for just the counseling stuff for them, but it's all going to work out fine. And we're helping the community.
And I love that attitude. That's a great attitude.
Yeah.
That's an attitude I wish more and more people had.
Well, law of attraction, it's all going to come back. And I know it does. If we're talking, law of attraction, it's like we're doing the right thing. We're manifesting greatness. We're, thinking about, okay, financially, this is going to work. I just know it is. And it does every time. I'll get surprised. I just got an email from the county. Oh, can you do another, service? Oh, okay. That's great. So now they're asking me where it took me, forever. They're like, oh, can you provide another service and we'll pay this much per minute? Sure.
I'm going to pop in because I got to tell everybody, look, this is a big deal. For one thing, they also have telehealth. For two,
Wow.
The thing is, Josie's listen, I've firsthand for the last few years have witnessed her changing the face of the addiction industry with a few other people through her efforts, and bringing in conscious awareness and bringing in conscious practices is just been extremely life-changing for all these people, and it's just amazing. If y'all want to know what it looks like inside, I'll give you just a look. Isn't that pretty?
There we go. Ooh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, that's our lobby.
That's
a
the
lovely
lobby.
decor.
We actually, because of COVID, and that's a large lobby, we turned that into another big group room. So that's a beautiful group room for them.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so
really good.
they have a beautiful group room. So
it also occurs to me, we're in a time period right now. I mean, not because of COVID, but because of all the advances that have been made within the psychological/scientific community. Because you talked about the need to be evidence-based. A whole lot of progress has been made in the last 10 to 15 years that wasn't even available 15 years ago. And you are you're kind of reaping those rewards that come out of that. So it enables you to do things like offer a more holistic thing, offer to more people of varying income levels. I mean, there's a whole lot more that you can do because of all those advances.
That's right. And what's interesting is I've been working in the field for over 30 years, since 1987. So since I was a kid. So I've watched all those advances and been part of them. And so you're right. It is, there's a lot that I can offer. But what I learned is that I used to have business partners with other treatment centers. I'd work for other treatment centers as a executive or whatever. And then my husband and I 8 years ago decided, let's open up our own outpatient and IOP and PHP day treatment and just focus on that continuum of care when they leave treatment. And then we help them. They're with us for 6 months. We help them get do their trauma work, get jobs, live life. And because we decided not to have corporate partners, financially everything is on us. But on the other hand, because my husband, Jim, he's a physician's assistant, a PA, a psychiatric PA, and addictionist. So he does all the medical stuff with his doc, and he does a detox and all of that stuff. So we both have been working in this field for years together, and we can bring our experience to the treatment center and all the best practices. Where corporate programs, I'm not saying anything bad about them, they're great, but sometimes you just have a lot of red tape to bring in these different modalities. Or, they won't, I've never met any, it wouldn't make sense for a big residential program to go Medi-Cal. It just, the numbers don't work. But for me, I could make the numbers work. So that's been another thing that's been a blessing, is that we've been able to do this on our own, and then we can make, these practices and then share them with other treatment centers that can start bringing it into their programs. So
that's very cool. I love that. Yeah.
That's
another big shift that I've been seeing, not just in your industry, but in a wide range of industries, the willingness of quote competitors, unquote, actually cooperating together.
Oh, absolutely. That's something that I've helped bring into the industry, and I'm saying that modestly, but I have recoveryview.com, and I've had that for 13 years, and we put conferences together, and that's an online journal. So it's all about collaboration. I have a list of over 100,000 professionals nationwide and international, and they contribute to the online journal so that we can learn from each other. And, when conferences were going, I would do CEUs, and it's all about networking, collaboration, relationships. I learned that years ago because we all have something to share, and we all have clients that we can't help in every treatment center. It's like there's always going to be a client that might do better at your center, so that I'll send them to your center, and they might do better at my center, type of thing. So and the industry is very good at that. Not everybody, but most of the people in our industry are very good about collaborating.
That's really cool. And what you're describing is very familiar too. I mentioned my friend Joel, who's been a therapist, and he actually abandoned his license to become a full-time life coach because he wanted more freedom that would afford to him. But even when he was working as a therapist, he was like the therapist of last resort. Mm-hmm. Everybody else had tried to, and it was usually young boys in the foster care system. The ones that they couldn't find a home for, they were the troublemakers. No one could solve any of their issues. They were getting worse and worse and worse. And they were the ones who were either going to be arrested or in prison or dead by the time they were 18 and all that kind of stuff. And then he would get them as the clients. And that's the way it works.
Yeah, those are the best ones. We have an adolescent program, and, the staff, I'm like their cheerleader also in our staff meetings. There's it's the second time he stole the car. We tried getting him to residential ready. He comes back, and, then we did some work with him, and he's now rating his poetry. And I said, I hate to admit, but I've got 3 adult kids, and they took my car a couple times. I'm like, he didn't steal the car from, the gas station. He stole his grandma's car, which is not good. I don't encourage anybody to do it. But, this kid's not a throwaway because he sold his grandma's car twice. And then they're all going like, yeah, you're right. I'm like, you're all in recovery, right? Did you ever take your parents' car with you? Just have to get a break. But sometimes we have to remind each other of that because we do get the complicated clients, that are good, especially the kids. Boy, trying to engage them. You have to keep them entertained. You have to keep them, but we do good with that. And I make sure that we switch it around a lot for the kids so that they can stay engaged.
I'm curious too, if you have similar stories to my same friend Joel, because he has some really, really great stories. And the thing that he has talked about a lot is that when they're young, and yes, they've been going through hell. They had a hellish existence for almost all of their lives. But if you can get them in a chair and talk with them and help them understand that they actually have control over their lives and yada, 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 they make changes on a dime.
Yes.
Changes that an adult would take years to make because the adult has all this baggage they've been carrying all these years. But the kids, they just make a change and like, bam, like everybody says, whoa, what happened with that kid?
That's absolutely true. And this kid that we're talking about specifically, because they were, it's like you said, he almost changed overnight. Next thing you know, he was reading his beautiful poetry in group. Just last week, he stole his grandma's car. And I'm like, wow, this kid's, pretty deep and he's enlightened. And so we encouraged him to do that. And he loves coming to group now. And, before he didn't want to come. It was a joke, blah, 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 and then they all band together, so we've had,
of course,
we've had entire groups that have like, one day we have 10 and the next day we have 4. I'm like, what the heck happened? They all went out together. So we have to, it goes both ways, and that's again, momentum, law of attraction. The kids have it really fast.
Yeah, they do.
And the manifestation. So they can, if we catch it early and give them that awareness, at an early age, because if anything else, if they go out and use again, and which more than likely a lot of them will, that's just statistical. At least if we could be a buzzkill for a while, I'm happy with that. So it won't be the same when they go out and use. They might think twice. They might remember some of the tools we gave them, and stuff like that. But it probably
depends on how long you were able to keep them in the program and work with them. If you have them for a while, you probably have a pretty high success rate, I would think.
We do. And we do have a high success rate, with those. And what I've noticed lately though, over the pandemic is that our kids are, there's a lot of suicide with the adolescents right now. And it's real. It is entirely real. And, we had a kid in our program for a while, about a month ago, and he had been with us for a while, and his insurance stopped paying, but he still needed to come, so I let him keep coming. They went on vacation, came back. He was going to come back to group the next day, and that night he shot himself, in the head. He just like that, even though he was doing fine on his vacation, and you just don't know. So when they say, and they come in and they're depressed and they're suicidal or they're cutting on themselves, I mean, we treat them and then we get them to higher level of care and then we treat them again. So we work collaboratively with residential programs that, but sometimes they won't come in unless they start out outpatient. But we take that very seriously. So if you, or any of the audience, the viewers know of any kids or anybody for sure, but especially adolescents, that seem down and depressed and in the dumps and isolating in their room, check in with them.
Yes.
Just kind of check in with them because it's real with the kids right now because of the school, them not being in school for over a year. They lose their place in their social hierarchy. They've all lost their social skills, their dating, all of that stuff. Anything that they like to do, for a lot of them, has been taken away from them for the last year or so in a crucial time of their developmental growth. So we've been working with them. We stayed open the entire time. And that's when our adolescent program really blossomed because the kids would rather be in treatment than to be home. We helped them with their homework. We got them pizza. I mean, that's how we really got, because we'd had an adolescent program for years and we were lucky if we kept like 3 kids at a time. But during pandemic, we've been able to keep our 10, up to 10.
That's very good. Yeah, that's really, really good. And it's very important. In fact, when you're talking about that, it reminds me of a conversation we had on yesterday's program, actually. Because I brought up, and you probably know about this one, but Sean Aker from the Positive Psychology arena did a study when he was as a graduate working at Harvard University. Of course, he did lots of studies at Harvard University because that's what you do at Harvard University. But nevertheless, he did this one particular one, and it actually involved about 1/5 of the entire student body. That's how big the study was. Wow. Yeah, it was good size. And he was trying to isolate what it is that makes a person succeed in life. I mean, he was focusing on Harvard students, obviously, but he was hoping that he could get some insights that would help. He could translate it to other areas of life as well. And, so he did this huge questionnaire that included, how often do you study? What were your grades in high school? What classes are you taking? Are there easy classes? I mean, tell us about your professors, like everything that he could possibly think of. And then he just kind of threw on this last question at the end as like an afterthought. And when the study was done and he calculated all the results, the throwaway question was the only one that correlated. All of the other factors failed to correlate to any significant degree. That one factor was social connectedness.
Oh, yes.
And the ratio of correlation was 0.7.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So now I'm thinking about what you're talking about, and now you can kind of flip that on its head. What happens when you don't have social connectedness?
That's right.
Look at the studies. I mean, there was a horrible study they did in the 1940s with those 12 or 13 babies. And what they did is they met all their needs other than hugging, touching, holding. No emotional needs were met, no social interactions or anything like that. It was simply feeding and changing them. And every one of those babies died within the first year. And there was no other reason that they did. Yeah. It's a horrible study that they did, but it's really relevant to the fact that we need each other. That's why we're here. We're here for each other. We're here to be with each other in connection and collaboration and service and that type of thing. We're not here to be removed from one another. So I want to take a little spin or a shift here just a little bit because, actually it looks like we may have a question. But before we go there, I just want to bring up that there's something really remarkable though about you, Josie. And the thing that's remarkable is that with all of this that you offer out there to people that are struggling with either mental health or addiction issues. You've taken it to another level because in your personal life, you discovered the ability to be able to tune in and actually channel the angels. And not just any angel, but Archangel Gabriel. You started out with Michael, or Raphael. Michael.
Well, no, I first met Michael. I first met Michael in 2000, but that was not channeling him. That was just an experience I had. And then, Raphael, when I was started free writing, it was Raphael's messages, but the actual channeling was always Gabriel. Yeah. Because the other angels are quite large. It's like,
Large.
that would explode if I did Michael or Raphael. One time, because I love Raphael so much, I tried Raphael and I just couldn't. He's like, all right, you want to try? It's not good. Okay, yeah, no, it didn't work. Like, whoa, okay, never mind. Gabriel's very gentle. He's the, closest to the earth angel, the communicator. So everybody kind of channels a little bit of Gabriel, he says.
Okay.
The realm of Gabriel. Musicians,
Mhm.
of course. Andrea Bocelli. I mean, all those beautiful, the beautiful voices, the poetry, the art. He's in a lot of that.
That's cool. I like that.
It's really cool.
That's an angel who isn't too big for his britches, is what that is.
That's right. He's not. He is not too big for his britches. He says he doesn't wear britches, but that's. Angels don't wear britches, but okay. They're very funny. They are funny.
Humorous as can be. Josie and I had a fun experience about how we met years ago when I had this, I woke up one Sunday morning, like, I've got to go to Joan of Angel's house. All right. I don't know Joan, but Josie walks in. I think it's the second time I was out there, and it was just awesome because she walks in, we start talking, and it's like, okay, and we're the same age. So, that was kind of cool too, because it was like, all right. So we're both a little, at that time I was like, we're both into this new way of thinking and this life, and wow. And so now this last few years has been this interesting growing journey, but it's what that Gabriel is bringing through now as Josie's writing her book, and the things that are coming through on 2/22/22. Gabriel channeled a very, very special message that was heard on Unify. So these messages are being heard in large groups now. But what's coming through, what I found most interesting is time. He was talking about time and for how, well, you can actually go, I think you could do a lot better justice there.
Talk about time, what he's been saying about time, or as he's saying now, what we've been saying about time, he wants me to say, is there is no time. And that day especially, he said, there's no time, there's faith. So he encouraged that day to go, and every day, but to go with no time and faith and flow. So there is time because of gravity. Of course, there's time. So it's a spiritual conundrum that he's talking about, he says. So it's not like there's really, logically, of course, there's time. But in reality, when you're looking at the duality of the physical and the non-physical, in order to tap into that spiritual zone, he's saying, just go into a timeless space where there's no time, where you're not looking at your watch. And especially with law of attraction, he says it's important to do that, because then you can be in that zone. You're in that flow. You're just there without worrying about time, because every time you go like, oh, I'm late, or what time is it? Then you're kind of blocking the flow from coming through. So when he channels, like, he was supposed to do a 5-minute channel, a 5-minute meditation. Anytime he channels, I'm kind of somewhere else, and 5 minutes on the dot, he's done. I mean, he knows. So they know time already. So we don't have to worry about that, he says. Like, it's going to happen perfectly the way it's supposed to, no matter what. But you also have to have a word that we use, he says, like faith. But that's, or just knowing, the knowingness. He says words are just words. So it's not religious particularly. This is how I interpret, some of those words. Faith.
Sure.
So it'd be something like faith, just knowing, just being and going. And then you can check your watch later and say, wow, okay. You can confirm it, because he says humans need confirmation all day. So, maybe check your watch after you do it and see where you're at, if you really have to check your watch. But just to try to go with your day, go with your law of attraction, go with it, because momentum is very important when you're talking about law of attraction, momentum. So depending on what momentum you have is the momentum you're going to continue to go. So if your momentum is about fear of the war and, the anger and all the things that are happening on the planet right now that are of a lower vibration, then you're going to quickly go to that momentum and you're going to feel the fear immediately, feel the fear, the anger. So, he encourages us not to spend a lot of time on that or if possible, no time on that, he says, but he knows that people, it's a thing that we're in this world. So he's encouraging us not to participate in that energy, but to send love to the leaders of the world. So basically send love to the leaders of this planet. And that is the momentum that we can do to energetically help, the situation, he says, because there's a lot, there's a lot that we can do in the polarity, meaning, both sides of the polarity. Everything is a polarity. Anything you don't like is half of who you are, basically is what he says. So he's like, embrace the polarity and send prayers to it or send love to it, send divinity to it. And then you'll feel the peace immediately. And so will they. Now, if he says everybody goes, yeah, sure. Okay, whatever. That's back to faith. So feel the momentum of that. And then whatever it is that you're asking for, law of attraction, whatever it is that you want in your life will come faster to you.
Can I ask him a question?
Yes.
What I want to ask him is a question I like to ask anybody who's got really great advice like this, and this is really great advice. One of the things that we humans are known for is our ability to be distracted by just about everything. Yeah. So the question is, how do we avoid being distracted, particularly when we're trying to stay in that zone that he's talking about?
Well, that's a perfect question because whenever, I've used words in the past, like in the way past, but still sometimes people will, darkness, the devil, or, Satan, all those words are used right now. Evil, the axis of evil, all those things. He calls them distractions. He just says they're distractions. It's not even a thing. It's distraction. And those other words are bring us fear from whatever we've learned in our life and things like that. That takes us to a whole other place. So he calls anything like that a distraction. So it could be, and he says distractions come in beautiful ways. Distractions come in cakes if you're trying to get off of sugar. Distractions come with your spouse saying when you're ready to meditate, oh, let's go get some ice cream. Honey? Distractions come in that Netflix series that, oh my goodness, they're doing season 3. Okay, let's do that instead of, those. So it's not even the big distractions.
Right.
He says it's the little distractions that really take us off course. Yep. So what he encourages is just to identify the distractions, know that they're a distraction, and just go, oh, that's a distraction. No. So identify that this is what it is. So whether it's the smallest distraction or the biggest distraction, it is a distraction. And that's the perfect word for identifying what can take you off the flow, what can take you out of your momentum is a distraction. So whatever it is, identify it as that, bless, release, and keep going. Or as a human, choose to do it and then get back on track. So
it's interesting you used to say that because that's literally something I've been doing this week. I have been consciously using the words I choose to describe my day. So as the phone rings, I choose to answer the phone. I choose to sit at the computer. I choose to turn on the lamp. I choose to have some lunch. I choose to go to the bathroom.
Yes. Or if you choose, he said this on that one of the shows recently. He's like, if you choose to eat a cookie instead of an apple, then enjoy the cookie already. Enjoy it, embrace it, love it, and it'll go right through you.
Can I just pop in there? And I love that because exactly about the time he did that, Joe pops up. My husband goes, Gabriel just gave me permission to eat the cookie.
Yeah. And Gabriel's like, right on, eat the cookie and be done. Enjoy it while you eat it. You let it flow through you and keep moving. It's the guilt of eating the cookie and what in your mind you think the cookie represents, which is another cookie later and more fat, where your mind takes you with that cookie is the problem. It's not even the cookie. So choose to partake in the distraction or not, and then you've got it. Then you're staying in the momentum when you can make the choice and enjoy that momentum, enjoy that distraction if that's what you're going to do, or wallow in the distraction knowing that's what you're doing. I had my niece who died over a month ago. We had her funeral So I've been in a lot of grief, and I've chosen to be in grief because I've never done that before, really. I would always just keep moving. And I made a decision to sit here and cry and be home and feel that feeling and feel Vanessa and love my sisters and love my mother and spend more time with them. It was a big eye opener family wise, my sister's daughter who passed away. That was she was like my daughter. And so
sure.
So for my birthday, that's what we're doing. We're all getting together here at the house. We're just going to relax and, just, whatever, just a wellness day. I said, let's just do a wellness day, eat healthy, go for walks, whatever. And, so yeah, that's been a huge, it's been a big distraction, but Gabriel says not really. This is something that, from a spiritual level, she's in a better place and she's helping us from the other side, and our family is healing a lot through this, and we're getting closer. We haven't seen each other in years, and now we can't let each other go. So, you can, you could say, well, gosh, Josie, she's been just, no, it's been great. I tell people I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm the best I've ever been, actually, quite honestly, because I'm feeling my feelings and I'm allowing it to happen.
And plus, I'm guessing here, just from my own experience, but I'm guessing that you're also reconnecting with love in a big, big way, because that's what happens.
That's so true. I'm reconnecting with love. Oh, thank you. Yeah, you're right. I didn't really see it that way, but that's all I've been doing, right? Debbie went to the funeral. She's been helping me, and there was so much love at that reception, wasn't there, from family?
It was
so much love.
It was huge. And grief is unhoused love. It's love with nowhere to go, and so it's really beautiful when people can come together, allow themselves to experience it, and also to love, to just be there, and it is sometimes, but for those watching, why not take these words and use them in your own life right now? Use them as encouragement to take it. Who could you hug that you haven't hugged maybe this weekend that's coming up? And, Josie just went through a really hard thing, and death has always been something that's been difficult for you. I don't know if you want to share or talk about it, for those that maybe wanted to, hear more. It's up to you.
Yeah, sure. No, my father and my brother died when I was a kid. I was 9, and when my dad died, and 10 when my brother died.
Oh, actually, it was even bigger than that, Josie.
Which one?
Your dad passed away on your birthday.
On my birthday, yes. Oh,
yeah.
You're right. Tomorrow's my anniversary Well, thanks for, I would have remembered tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow. Oh, well.
Exactly. This is when And so, but that was so many years ago, and I'm still, working through it. And so thank God for all these years, we haven't had any major losses in our immediate family. Now, relatives, just aunts and uncles, yes, but not like immediate family. And so a lot came up for me, a lot of grief from then. Yeah, you're right. So a lot of grief came up, but there's so much love. It's just,
it was huge healing for you.
Yeah, huge healing it's been.
I actually had a similar experience, by the way. Not quite, because it wasn't immediate family, but my paternal grandmother died on my birthday.
Oh, see, my grandmother, you're right. That was big when my grandmother did. And on your birthday. Yeah. Oh, and Vanessa died on her mom's birthday, January 9th. It's my sister's birthday.
Yeah. I think that's a big celebration. I think they're trying to make a point.
Maybe.
I think they're trying to make a
connection. There's a connection.
Yeah, I continue living bigger, live more, take advantage of living, take advantage of breathing, I think it is a matter of embracing, life, because through death, what I was shown through losing, so many people in my life was through death was my permission to live.
That's good. That's really good. In fact, it reminds me of something that I kind of stumbled on this, and you probably do it regularly as part of your practice, Josie, I would imagine. But my wife's stepmother was somebody that she had a rocky relationship with until the last few years, and then she had a great relationship with her. She called her every Wednesday. And then Ruth died. And then about 6 months later, Louise is sitting on the couch on a Wednesday, and I could tell she's just in a really bad place. I said, what's wrong? She says, I haven't gotten over that I can't call Ruthie anymore.
Right. Oh.
And it was obvious to me that it was really bothering her. And of course, I'm the husband and like, I want to do something to help, don't really know what to help. And so I just kind of went with the first thing that came into my mind. I just went over and I knelt down on the ground in front of her, took her hands in mine, and I said, tell me what you love about Ruth.
Yes. That's beautiful. That's perfect.
I could just see the stress like melting off her face.
Yes.
Her entire body.
That's right.
Like in seconds.
Yes. That's the best thing to say to somebody that's grieving, I think. What was your favorite thing about them?
Yeah.
What was your favorite memory? That is so beautiful when you really did take it. You intuitively knew what to say to comfort your wife.
I was led. I did not know intuitively. I was led. I had no idea what to do. I walked over and the words came out of my mouth. I mean, that was it.
Yeah, that's your intuition. You don't know what intuition is, but that's the intuition.
I'm still learning what mine is. Let's put it that way.
You were led.
It wasn't me.
It wasn't you. That's true. Gabriel saying it was not you. No. Oh my, that was perfect. That was perfect.
Oh, so let's take it to another level now. So we understand what grief is for us here on this earth, but the fact that they're just transitioning, that they're still here. And I know this for a fact because Josie and I hadn't known each other more than a couple of weeks. She's on the phone with me. It couldn't even more than a week.
Yeah.
We're on the phone and your dad, which we were not, by the way, trying to tap in or any of this. He just decides to pop. I'm just going to pop up and talk to my princess, and Debbie, you're going to just do what you do, which is blurt it out, whatever it's going to be. And I did. And she's like, whoa, wait a minute. And I'm like, and I described this person and we talk about the energy. It was her dad who came through. And Josie and I have had this really beautiful, unique connection that for me, and I don't know if I've ever said this to you, Josie, I was thinking about this the other day. You guys are the family I need in my life. I wanted in my life, my family, it's a little strained and it's kind of cool, because we grew up not far from each other, even when we didn't know each other. Right. And we grew up in a lot of the same traditions and values. Mm-hmm. So there's this really neat thing about it.
We're like sisters. We're very connected.
Totally.
And, people would ask me because our relationship, we were like fast friends that they say, right immediately.
Yeah.
Totally. Like sisters. So my family didn't understand it because here, I've got, my husband, my adult kids, and we all just know everybody in our life. And it's like, who's this person, Debbie, you keep talking about, Debbie always around, or Debbie this, Debbie that, Debbie this. And then like, finally I said, okay, she's got a connection to my dad. I mean, I love Debbie, but I'm never leaving Debbie because if I ever need to connect with my dad, she's got a connection with my dad. If I need to ask my dad a question, for some reason I can ask Debbie.
It's true.
I know. I was blown away when you did that. I mean, you had me at, your dad's right here and I can, I'm like, oh. My dad, yes. What does my dad think of this? And then he'd be like, that's what, because I'd be like, God, what would my dad, and then she'd be like, he's fine. Just make a decision or whatever.
Whatever it might be or whatever, and sometimes it's just, he's loving all this right now. They're very similar, Josie and her dad.
Really?
They're very similar. Yeah. That same vivacious energy, that love, and it's big love. And the message I think today is about big love. When you're talking about life, when you're talking about death, it's big love. It's big, huge. And Gabriel can talk more about big love, but I really wanted to get a little more woo-woo about it because the fact of the matter is that, there's great help when they aren't in their physical body. They're a big help to us.
Oh, so much help to us.
What's Gabriel say about big love? Big.
Okay, so what he's saying right now about big love, and he's saying that he's almost like saying as a, precursor, just love itself can be, people can be thrown back by that word because they immediately go to their relationships. So we're not talking about like relationship love, although that could tie into this, but he said, it's the energy, what he's talking about what they're talking about with the love is that right now, especially on that 222, he did a message that the love has been coming through. So the planet now is just immersed with the energy of love. And we have ushered that in, the humans that are doing the work. We've been ushering in the love for years. And now, it's time. The planet has love, but for those who don't really feel like they have love, or they're angry, or they're, whatever, they're not going to know what this is. So this feeling of love or, compassion, but at some point they're going to get it. So it's up to us to help them. Those of us who are tapped in and doing this beautiful work is to remind people about compassion and love, and they're going to get it just like that. So when you're talking about big love, I mean, it's literally filled. Our planet is filled with it. Now, watching the news is only a small percentage, he says, of the anger because it's all sensationalized. But if you look at it from their vantage point, there's more love. It's just not newsworthy. Love is not newsworthy. So, and law of attraction, we all find each other. And there's more of this than there is of the other. So, just remember that, he says, is that to embrace that divine essence, the divine essence of love and what that means for you and your heart space energy. The heart space energy is the most powerful energy that a human being has, the heart. And that's where all that's the portal. That's where the energy of love, literally, but it's because they call it the energy of love because it's the essence of the divine. It's the essence of the grid. It's the essence of the non-physical kind of, because without your heart, you don't live. I mean, you have to have you can't breathe without your heart. You can't do anything without your heart. So when you can connect your heart and say, I'd like to connect with I want to see the world through my heart space today in your meditation. Can I see the world through my heart space rather than my mind space? And then can I connect my mind space with my heart space? That's a big thing, connecting your mind, your head, your thoughts with your heart space, or the vice versa. So that way they can correlate together, because your heart and your thoughts and your mind sometimes are not connected. That's what you'd call like a disconnect. Disconnect from who they really are and their heart space. So if you're wanting to really tap into this big love that Debbie's talking about, he's saying is to open up your heart space and ask to see through the eyes of your heart. Speak through the eyes of your heart.
Speaking for myself, I'm seeing, and have been for the last 2 or 3 years, I'm seeing a lot of evidence that big love is already there.
Oh, yeah.
And that it's actually impacting the lives of people who we call non-enlightened, meaning they don't really have an idea what's going on here.
That's
but
right.
you can see it. It's really happening. It's
true.
happening in a lot of ways. It's kind of surprising how quickly it's happening, really.
Oh, and he says it's going to happen even faster too. Because if you look at it from a numerological standpoint, the portal of the 222, even though those are just numbers, but they're lined up and they'll never happen again. So, people say like, oh, those are angel numbers. He's like, they are angel numbers. I mean, when you have numbers lined up like that and everything is in alignment, there's literally an alignment coming through. So more love came through that day. This beautiful essence on that day. And so, yes, you're going to see it even faster than you've seen before. And you're correct. That's exactly what he's saying. Yeah.
It's definitely happening. I'm seeing just in behavior patterns. You mentioned news, and politics usually comes up in there, and wars and all that kind of stuff. And even in those realms, I'm seeing it like seeping in there. It's like it's entering the conversation, and people don't really know what to do with it. It's kind of ruining the way the conversation used to go. It's not going that way anymore.
It's not going that. It's impossible. He goes, it's impossible to go there. Mm-hmm. It's impossible, especially with technology, because people are actually connected with their phones to good passages, to their family, where before the soldiers would be all by themselves in the front lines, only connected with soldiers, which they still are, but hate, let's go kill the enemy, hate. And, they still never recover from that because that's not who they truly are, is to go and kill other humans. That's not who they truly are. And that's why they have PTSD, because they're going against their heart space.
Sure.
They're going against their whole heart. And so now even more so, it's going to be completely different. It's almost like you want to say things are moving so fast and everything's so just like, all right already. How many times are we going to do this? How many times does Russia have to conquer Ukraine? How many times does Russia have to go, for the polls? Whatever, the Russians. It's like, stop it.
It reminds me of the old really bad joke about the beans will continue until morale improves.
Yes, that's what it sounds like. It's always the Russians. Always, it's always the Russians. Catherine the Great, Putin. It's like, here we go. Okay. When are we gonna, he says, when are you guys gonna learn? And why do the Russians always have to be the bad guys?
I wonder about it. Well, here's a question for him. I wonder about that. I wonder, people talk about soul contracts. I gotta say, I'm kind of on the fence with soul contracts. Sometimes we say, yeah, okay, no, I'm not so sure. So I'm like halfway. But if we assume the idea of a soul contract, isn't it possible that so many of these people in Russia took the soul contract saying, yeah, I'm going to be the bad guy. I'm going to be part of this bad guy movement.
Yes. Well, the deal is it's the leaders of Russia that, the actual people of Russia.
Not the average person. No.
The Russians are like the nicest people. They are literally, if there were ever to be victims on this planet, they are. Not that he doesn't encourage victimhood, but the Russian people, because of this, but the leaders of these countries are the ones that have these soul contracts to come in and be the bad guy and be the agitator. They know, everybody knows coming in what they're going to do. They're going to be the agitator. They're going to, but that doesn't mean that can't stop either. I mean, they come in knowing what they're going to do, but it doesn't mean that it can't be bypassed, in a certain way as well.
I think it's an important thing, recognizing that, right? Being willing to acknowledge we're not going to wipe this stuff out. It's not going to be erased from existence. It's good. Yeah. This kind of thing continues because we live in a world of polarity. That's why people come here. It's like, hey, come see the polarity.
Come see the polarity. But what he's saying is, law of attraction, it's that Russia's already been doing that. So that's how they come in there. Maybe manifest, not that anybody else has to be a bad guy, any other country, but, it's just like maybe some, Sweden next time. No, just kidding. Bad guys.
All letters from Sweden go to Josie Herndon.
Yes. Been in the middle this whole time. Hello, can we just know? But he says law of attraction. Everybody has their role in this planet. It's like a family. It's like the family roles. Your wife would know the family roles. It's like,
right.
Russians and Germans are always the bad guys. Swedes, they're the good guys. They're the good guys, and then, all through everywhere you go. So.
Yeah, I get the feeling that a large chunk of the population in Russia, the average person that we were talking about, they're generally really great people. I have a feeling a lot of them are there. If it's a soul contract kind of thing, their soul contract is, I'm going to go there and I'm going to learn how to see through a Vladimir Putin, because my history, my family, my soul group, whatever, we have this tendency to just kind of buy into a big leader like that. We need to learn how not to.
Yes, exactly. The legacy of their ancestry, because their ancestry is wow. Yeah, that's very true. And every generation that comes through is an evolution. It's an evolution. Mm-hmm. It evolves. So you're correct about that. But they're not wanting to play this game right now. They're not wanting to play the game. If you look at normal, citizens of these two countries, they're just like, oh, man, we were doing good. We were starting to go to school. We were living a life. We were starting to and now really he's going to get us back to going to bread lines again and soup lines? Please.
Mm-hmm. Well, same thing's happening in this country, here in the U.S. I mean, all kinds of different ways. I mean, how many different roles are being played out in this country in major ways today? It's just, we can probably count 20 of them quickly.
If you look at the history of 100 years ago, it's the same as what's happening now, even down to the pandemic. So,
that's true.
History does not have to repeat itself, he said.
But there is one difference, though, and I was noticing this earlier in the week on the show. There's one big difference between 100 years ago and now, And that difference is hard to describe. It's hard to quantify. But stuff that would not have been acceptable 100 years ago is acceptable now. Stuff that would have been rejected out of hand is not being rejected. There's like more openness now. And I can't pin my finger down on, well, this is what made it happen, but it's happened.
Well, it's the evolution of the human mind and the human existence. I mean, there has been a lot of evolution, because if you think about it, 100 years ago was the Industrial Revolution, 100 years ago. And now we're doing the space age, you know, so it's all about the space age, going to Mars and all of that. And, you know, just again, back then there were the big 5 families or 10 families that, you know, were killing it with the, you know, shipping and, you know, all the stuff, the cars and all the new industries switching over from, you know, the 19th century to the 20th century, all that stuff was happening. And now we're doing the same thing 100 years later, but with our technology. And part of that is our awareness, because back then they were saying this, they were going like from 100 years prior, they were very evolved. You know, they weren't wearing corsets anymore, the women. You know, they stopped wearing corsets. They, you know,
the women were to get the vote. That was a big deal right then.
I mean, so from 100 years prior, it was a big awareness, and now here, same thing.
Yeah.
Especially because there's so many more humans now, and technology is coming.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Which, by the way, they said couldn't be done back then. If they said you had this many humans, the whole planet would fall apart.
Right. Yes, exactly. Yeah, and we say that about, you know, the next. We're saying the same thing now.
Same thing. All everything, including their music. What the heck?
So it's very interesting to have these conversations about why, you know, just kind of looking at it from the outside in. He says, kind of looking at it from their perspective. It's like, when are you guys going to, you know, they're kind of going like, hello, come on, just keep evolving. Keep going, come on, you don't have to stop, you know.
Yeah.
They're the cheering section. They're like, come on, you can do it, you can do
it. Like, come on, you're almost there.
Right.
Dude, we did it again. All right.
I'm glad to know I'm not the only one saying it to myself. They're also saying the same thing. Okay, good. We're on the same page. That's good.
They're saying the same. Yep, they're saying the same thing. They're like, well, there is no right or wrong, so let's just see.
Oh, that's funny.
Interesting. So Nicole, hi Nicole, how are you doing? It says, I would caution the idea that life cycle is a choice, but if you decide to stand in your own light, you've got the lesson. What do you think about, what does Gabriel say?
Well, so when he says to choose, you know, we were using the context of distractions. Now you can't always, so, you know, it's true, you can't always avoid certain situations. But when you're in the flow of manifestation and law of attraction, and you see something that's coming to you that's going to distract you from whatever it is your goal is, whether you're writing a book, or you're in the middle of a meditation, or you're going to do your walk that day, and then, you know, something comes and distracts you from whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish that's a higher vibration, then at that point you can choose to embrace that distraction and stay home and not exercise. We're just using small things, he's saying. Or you can, you know, just see it for what it is. Now, that was the context of the conversation we had earlier about choices. So those are easy choices, small choices that, you know, in life, that little things grow. But if there's a situation where, you know, you're coming out of a situation, you just keep coming out of that situation. So, you know, whatever it is, like you could say, well, this happened to me, so this wasn't my choice. That's true. It wasn't your choice for that happening to you. But when it comes to, you know, we have, as humans, he says, we have free will. So at some point you can make a decision that you're going to start moving in a different direction. So it doesn't have to be like a quick change, he says. It can be a little baby change towards another direction. So if it's a major situation, you can start by making baby changes towards another direction. That way it's not, you know, like pressure to go, let's just turn here and turn right, you know, on the freeway. You know, we're going on the freeway, we're going to make a right turn. No, that's what it's like. You know, you're driving 80 miles an hour in one direction, and then all of a sudden you can't just stop and make a right turn. But you can start slowing down that momentum until you can get off of an exit. and start going in the direction that you want to go, whether it be to turn around on the freeway. He's just using that as an analogy. So, yeah.
It reminds me of an Abraham Hicks analogy. They were once asked, well, here's an example. How could I apply the law of attraction in this situation? I'm falling out of a plane and I don't have a parachute. Yeah. And Abraham says, well, isn't it a little bit late?
You're just like, yeah. I mean, if that's the analogy, then just, we'll see you. You'll have to do this again next time.
There were a whole bunch of things leading up to that. You're going to just kind of negate all of those. They don't count.
Yeah. That's just kind of like, okay, you decided to come with us, or you're just, transitioning. You're going to be a spirit guide. You're going to do all those things that you're not doing on that planet. Once you fly out of a plane without a parachute, there's a conscious decision there as well,
Yes.
Anybody that would do that, they're ready to come with us, he says.
Pretty much, yeah.
Unless they plan on getting some wings, which, yes. I hope that answered your question.
Thank you, honey. Yeah. That was great. I just want to do a huge shout out because I know we're at the top of the hour. So everybody, this is Drama to Dharma with Josie Herndon. It's going to be right here on Spirituality Gone Wild. Tri-Angels, please go join the Facebook page, Tri-Angels. You can reach Josie there. And we were talking about the treatment center. If anybody is, or knows somebody that needs some help, Advanced Therapeutic Services can help you. And if you didn't get that, then just reach out to myself, Walt, Josie, and we'll get you in contact really quickly.
Absolutely.
We'll also put a link in the description. The description is going to get a link to that particular event. So if you aren't sure how to find it, look in the description.
Oh, wonderful.
By the time this gets published, it'll be there. Yeah.
And thank you for inviting me to be on your show, Walt. This was so much fun. I kind of needed this boost for my birthday weekend.
Good.
This is great. This is a wonderful way for me to start. We had a lot of fun. The angels came through, and I'd love to have you as a guest on one of my shows as well once I get going with my team.
Oh, sure. I'd love to. Yeah. Well, I mean, we subtitled this Your Daily Dose of Happy for a reason.
Oh,
and it originated with me wanting to have fun with every single episode and then wanting all my co-hosts to have a wonderful show every single episode and the guests and the listeners, and it just kind of evolved. So now it's a rule, by the way. It's the law here at LOA Today. You have to have a good time. So.
Come on, everybody.
So thank you very much, Josie and Debbie. Thank you.
Happy birthday!
Josie. Hey, all right. Thank you, podcast listeners everywhere. Thank you to Spirituality Gone Wild, and we will see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.